This Teesom video is all about payments. What we're going to cover is obviously taking a payment in a customer's order and the different options and areas to view payments and to take payments in that order. Then we're going to talk about holding money on account and then perhaps applying that to a new order. We'll also talk about the ability to pay multiple invoices in one fell swoop. And then we'll talk about refunding money or applying a discount to an order, which will then trigger a refund. We'll also talk about journal entries. And of course, throughout the video, I'm going to give you a few scenarios as well. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open our order. And I just wanted to talk to you about the different areas that you can go to take a payment. So number one, we can always go to the hamburger icon and click on the take payment option. And of course, it'll always default to whatever the balance is. Obviously, you can uncheck the box that says notify the customer or leave it checked off, and that will trigger an email notification to go to the customer to let them know that you did receive their payment. And then the payment reference is going to vary based on how you're taking the payment. So if I'm doing a card payment manual, I probably want to put that it was an American Express and put the last 4 digits of the card just so I can tell the customer, hey, you used your American Express ending in 5667. You never, ever, ever want to store the customer's credit card number in Teesom. You're always going to do that either in the Gravity Payments integration or obviously the Square software. Okay, so that's one way we can take a payment. I actually didn't know this until the other day when I accidentally hovered over the balance due and it said click to pay. So another way you can pay is by clicking on the balance due, and of course you can change the payment option. Let's talk about the reference here. So obviously if I'm going to put check in the drop down, the reference is going to be the check number. If I put cash in the drop down, what the reference should be is whoever initials are taking the cash. That way, if I take $1,057.55 in cash and suddenly my cash drawer is short $1,057.55, I know who to go talk to. So just a little tip there. Obviously, if you use the PayPal option, PayPal's always going to generate a code that you can type in as well. And again, just put in the proper reference there. All right, the third way you can take a payment in the order screen is you go over here to the $ tab and click on payments. By the way, if any payments have already been taken against this particular order or linked to this order, they will appear here. And to take a payment here, you can actually click on the plus sign and same thing, it's going to default. At any time, you can override the default balance and just take, let's just take $450, let's say. And so if we're using the card payment manual, I'm just going to say, look, it was a Visa ending in 1234. Visa, and we'll just put 1234 there. Do I want to notify the customer? Obviously, if I leave that checked and I hit pay, it's going to instantly bring up the email. So I'm just going to actually turn that off for this one. Okay, so now you can see the payment. So let's talk about some of these icons here. So obviously the balance now due for this order is $607.55 because I've taken a $450 payment. If I click on this little icon, I can actually see the details of the payment that I just took. If I need to change the date for some reason, I can click on that calendar option and change the date. If I know that this customer's account has money that is being held on account, so to speak, I can come over here to this option, the little hamburger icon inside the payment screen, and I can click on there and see, is there a payment available to apply to this order? So look at the amount here. The amount on 9/26 was taken, and it was $550. I have an open balance of $607.55, and if I now apply this $550 to this order, it's going to then tell me I have a balance of whatever $607.55 minus $550 is. So I can apply all of this amount, or I can just say, hey, give me $250 from this amount and apply it to this order. That way I'll have an additional $300 that I can apply to another order being that's open and needs money applied to it. So I'm just going to click over here. I'm taking $250 from this $550 amount that's being held on account, and I'm applying it to this invoice right now. So there you go. So now their balance due is the $357.55. If I want, I can actually take another payment and or I can go grab the $300 and then they'll have a balance of $57.55 there. So if you are ever in doubt if money's being held on account, just click on this little icon over here, see if there's money in here, and then if you if there's enough, you can apply it to the current order that you're in. Okay, now we're going to head over to the customer's account screen, and we're going to show you some payment options in there. Let's go ahead and click on the main menu, click on customers, and then we're going to use that same Alpha 1. So I just typed in a couple of letters, and then I'll click on the link for Alpha 1. We're going to stay on this transaction tab here because this is where it's showing me all the open invoices that the customer needs to make a payment to, and any payments that I've taken that haven't been applied to anything. So first and foremost, if I want to apply this payment, I can click on the action button and I can click apply. And it now gives me an option of all the open invoices to basically say, look, which one do you want to pay? Now, let's talk about a couple of things here. We have the availability of $550. If I apply the $550 to this $785 order, well, then I'm still going to have a balance of $230 with that invoice. If I apply the $550 to the $544.60, well, I'm still going to have a few dollars left to apply then to another invoice. So basically what I can only apply $544.60 from the $550 here. So in this case, I would literally type in $544.60, and once I hit apply, look how it's telling me the remaining balance is $540. If I obviously apply it to this and I just take that $550 and apply it, it's saying, okay, now you have no money left, but this invoice will still have a balance due on it. So you can pick and choose whichever invoice that you want to apply that to. So that's a really cool feature. All right, notice John has a lot of past due invoices. And if we wanted to call John up and say, look, your total balance past due is this, all I have to do is select all of the past due invoices, and then I'll click on the action option and say pay selected. So now I can give a total to John to say, look, you have a past due balance of $6,793.60. We need to get a payment from you today. And if he says, oh, okay, well, let me just make a payment of $5,000 to you, that's all I can afford right now, then I wouldn't do the pay selected, but rather I would just take a new payment and do what I just showed you a minute ago, take that $5,000 and divvy it up amongst the last 4 or 5 orders, what have you. All right, so really cool options there to be able to tally up the amount that you want to collect from them right now. Or even if the customer calls and says, hey, you know, what are my last 5 invoices that are due? All right, inside the action button, we also have the refund option, and then we've got a journal entry option. We'll talk about that in a minute. We do have the ability to print this screen, so if you needed to just hand this off to somebody and say, hey, go call this customer and try to collect money from them, you can do that as well. Obviously easier to work within the program. And then you can also export the amount for whatever reason. If you want to email it over to them and kind of just put notes next to it, you can export that information out as well. The filter option, I really like this. Just show me the past due things. So there we go. There's everything past due. The show me everything open not only will include the past due options, but also these other open orders, and then obviously the open payment as well there. You can also click on the filter option for debits and credits. Now, just to make it clear, if I click on debits, it's going to be anything that increases the customer balance, for example, an invoice. If I click on credits, it's going to be anything that decreases the customer's balance. So, for example, payments. So you can filter just by those 2 options there. But pretty much you're probably only ever going to use the invoices or payment option or open or past due. If this is a customer that I've been dealing with for a while and there's a lot of invoices in the list, you may want to consider filtering by a date range, or you can actually come over here. In addition to filtering, you can say sort them by the date, sort them by the amount, or sort them by the reference, which in this case would be the invoice number. So sorting option, don't forget about that. Okay, this customer has no refunds on account right now, so we're actually going to do a refund right now. So here I'm on, sorry, let me go back to the transaction tab, and I want to filter by, let's just do payments here, because since we're doing a refund. And I want that one payment, and notice that it's highlighted in blue here. So if I ever see a payment, and notice how these are zeroed out, that means these payments got applied to an invoice. And if I want to void one of these or refund one of these, I probably have to go do something in the order first to trigger a refund. But this payment has, and remember, we took that $550 payment and didn't apply it to anything. So we can actually refund this money. So again, I swiped the card, I took the payment, and then he decided to cancel the order. So now I've already canceled the order, or I never created the order, and he now wants his money back. So I can click over here, and obviously automatically I can just do a refund. And of course I would always refund the card that they originally paid for. And you always want to refund in the manner that you took the money, and that's what Teesom will default to. So if I took this as a cash payment, I would refund it as a cash payment. If I took it as a card payment on Visa 2737, well then I'm going to refund it to that card Visa 2737. And remember, Teesom doesn't hold the card number, but you can always go into your card reader, hopefully, or like I said, and none of this is truly applicable for Gravity or Square, but you can always go in and refund it through there as well. But again, if I'm just logging what happened, I can just simply leave this on Visa 2737 and say I gave this back as a refund. And please, you only ever want to do things as they actually happened. All right, and then again, do I want to notify the customer? Again, for this purpose, I'm just going to uncheck that. So I'll click the next button, and now that payment has been refunded. And now if we go back to the filter option, go to refunds, we can see that refund there for Alpha. The reason I didn't want to void it is because if I'm actually refunding the money in my card reader, I actually need to show that in Teesom that we physically refunded it. Voiding means it never happened. All right, let's move on. We're going to head over to the main menu, and we're going to go to quotes and invoices, and I want to find an order that's already been done and paid for, and we'll just use this branded order here. I can see that it's been paid in full. So let's go ahead and click on that order. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna pretend that the customer contacted us and said, hey, one of the 5 medium shirts that you gave us has a bad print on it, and we want our money back for that particular shirt. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to go into edit mode, and we're gonna have to change that quantity of 5 now down to 4. And when I do that, I'm gonna actually put remark line on there so that we know, hey, the original order was for 5 and we credited 1 back. So right now, again, if I go to the payment screen, you can see we had a payment. There's no balance due on this, but the minute we actually take this and edit it down to 4 pieces, what's going to happen is it's going to say, hey, you now have too much money applied to this order. So if we go back to the payment screen, it's now saying, hey, the customer is due back $11.86. So that's what we're going to refund. And in order to do that, we're going to click on the option here that says to unapply. Yep. And then we are going to go back to the hamburger icon, because remember, that's how we could apply money. And we're only going to apply the available balance. So we have $557, but now the invoice is for $545.82. So that's the only amount that we want to apply. So $554.82. And obviously that just automatically checks off, and then we say apply. So now we have this credit of $11.42 that we have to get back to the customer, but we're done with this invoice. This is now zeroed out, paid out, everything's copacetic for this. Again, I probably want to put a little remark line in here that said original order 5 medium, credited back 1 medium for damaged print. And again, I can turn off the private options so that the customer can see that as well. In this case, I'm just putting it in. So there's my little remark line to kind of tell what happened and why this amount changed. I'm going to go ahead and click done to say I'm done editing. And now we're going to go to Brandit's customer account. So let's go over here and let's type in Brandit. And we want to go into their account, and we want to find that 11 whatever amount. Haha, here it is, 11.86. And we now want to refund that. So now I'm going to come over here to the action button, and I'm going to click on refund. Again, however you took it initially is how you want to refund it. And by default, it knows I took a Visa ending in 0890, so now that's how I'm going to refund it. And again, if I need to notify the customer, I will. Go ahead and hit the next button, and now that appears in my refunds. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about right now is journal entries. Now, journal entries are strictly an accounting thing, but we have it as an option in Teesom. Literally, this is the only reason we want you using this in Teesom, is to write off a bad debt. So in an accounting program, you can do journal entries for many things, like to cover depreciation or things like that. But in Teesom, you should not be using journal entries but for one thing, and again, that is for a bad debt. So let's say you have a customer who did a couple of orders with you. You managed to get them to pay for one order, but now they're out of business. And you know there's no way, obviously, if it's I'm in September, I'm going to keep trying to get that payment from the person. But at the end of the year, I need to close my books out. And I don't want that carrying over. So what I will do is I will create a journal entry to kind of say, I'm writing this off as a bad debt. One important thing is journal entries. You need to be aware of this. Do not get sent over through QuickBooks integration. So neither to the online version nor the desktop version. So be very judicious in what you use the journal entry for. Journal entries can either increase an amount or decrease an amount. So if you click on the action button and go to journal entry, obviously it's going to use today's date as the transaction date. Typically, you're always going to decrease it by saying, hey, I'm writing off this amount. Remember, payments decrease, invoices increase. So you can just type in the amount, $250, and you can say bad debt, and then put any additional kind of comment in there, that you want to keep on file for this. And then once you're done, you can just hit save. But typically this is going to offset whatever balance the customer has with you. So you want to make sure that you're typing in the correct amount there. So again, be very judicious with using journal entries. Again, I can't stress it enough. It's mostly just used for clearing out a bad debt, something that you know is not going to get paid. Obviously, keep trying to get the money, but you can use a journal entry, right before you close your books out, to say, look, I'm never getting paid on this. I'm just going to write it off. All right. I hope this helps. We covered a lot of ways to take payments, view payments, how to refund money. If there was anything that I missed, please let me know. I'll do a specific video on that if you want a specific scenario worked out. But don't forget, you've got the purple widget in the lower left-hand corner to contact tech support, and always let us know how we can be of help to you. Thanks for watching.